It's not very often that we get to break exclusive news here on the Grappling Bulletin podcast, but that is the whole point of this show, is to share with you the ongoings in the jiu-jitsu world, the biggest news, the biggest stories from around the entire world of the grappling community. And we have some big news this week in that 3 black belt world champions are joining the Daisy Fresh team. Now, if you read the Grappling Bulletin article this morning, you may have some info on that, but if not, well, myself, Howell, Chase, and Corey in the back, we're here to break it down for you today. That was an interesting thing to wake up to, huh?
Absolutely. You know, we've heard some whispers of this brewing, and let's just get it out there, right? So we have both Mikey and Tammy Musumeci joining Daisy Fresh, Pedigo submission fighting, as well as Dante Leon. 2 of those, kind of shocking. Dante,
not so much.
That doesn't blow me away, but I love the development. It's exciting for Dante, and I think
exciting for
has
Daisy
some
Fresh.
big ramifications for the team standings and everything going forward. But yeah, really, really big news. Corey, what's your hot take on the situation here?
Yeah, I don't know if I have a hot take. I think, like you guys mentioned, if you've been kind of tuning in and watching what's been happening with Dante, it's not a huge surprise. He's had Heath in his corner a lot. But crazy surprising to see Mikey Musumeci and Tammy Musumeci joining the ranks of Pedigo. I think that could definitely help both parties, right? It could definitely prop up Pedigo, who's already been climbing in the standings over the last couple of years.
So I think it's very interesting that, as you mentioned, it's no secret for eagle-eyed viewers may have spotted Heath Pedigo in Dante Leon's corner at events such as Who's Number One, going all the way back to late 2020. Actually, he was in the coach's chair for many of Dante's matches. And Dante actually explained it to us that they have a relationship going back years, a lot longer than I even realized. We have a quote from him here on the website in the article this morning that his relationship, or I shall quote Dante, "My relationship with Heath and the Pedigo submission fighting crew goes back 7+ years, but really started to blossom in 2019. Now, Dante, up until this point, let's not forget that he's a GF team black belt, that he's bounced around a number of teams in his career because he has been active in jiu-jitsu since he was about 13 or 14 years of age. So it's natural that people move from team to team. But has been one of the best known representatives of GF team here in the United States for the last couple of years, I would say. You know, he broke through as a brown belt, as a very high-level brown belt, and then established himself on the world scene as a high-level black belt competitor, particularly in no-gi, all the while representing GF Team, who he'd been with for many years, based there in Ohio. So it's interesting that Dante, hailing from Canada, but based in Ohio, would link up with the Mount Vernon, Illinois crew, Pedigo submission fighting, because it's not like they have a big network of gyms and they're pulling in people from lots of different gyms. This is Dante's decision that I like those guys, I like what they're doing, I'm going to join up with them, right?
Yeah. Dante was definitely a bit of a man on an island for GF team. Once Gutenberg and guys like Mauricio Oliveira left and went back to Brazil and joined other teams, even for Mauricio's case, it was just Dante and his guys at his gym, Adamas Jiu-Jitsu.
Because he is like a solid 3-hour drive away from the nearest GF team location, Vitor Oliveira. Yeah.
Sure. And so it just made sense to maybe get some more resources close to home. Pedigo is still a drive, still a bit of a journey, but not as far. And they're always going to be there, right? And so I think it does have exciting implications, though, especially for Heath Pedigo. I mean, now his network is expanding, right? I think they have a couple different affiliates. They have one in Dallas. They have one, I think, like
Los Angeles,
Virginia.
I want to say there's about 4.
Or Kentucky, somewhere out there.
There's Nashville. Clay Mayfield's in Nashville, and they do have a handful of others. Spachi actually sent me a DM last night telling me that, so I'll pull it up while we're talking.
Right. So
because I don't want to get that wrong.
But in any case, I mean, really, the top talent was still more or less. Clay Mayfield definitely accounts here, but more or less came out of the home gym, right? The HQ there in Mount Vernon. Well, now we have Dante Leon repping the flag. And that just has a lot of, and plus, of course, Musumeci's, which are kind of, I think, training mostly out of the garage and some friendly gyms in Vegas.
Yeah, so I think that's always been their style, right? They've always very much done their own thing. And I don't see that changing. Like, we don't imagine that Mikey and Tammy are going to up sticks and relocate to deepest, darkest Illinois, you know? I think they've got a good thing going on in Las Vegas, and it's obviously working for them, given Mikey's success over this last year in Nogi and Tammy's amazing return to action here at the Who's Number One Championship not that long ago, considering that she'd been off the scene for so long and came back and was, just showed she's as competitive as ever. So I don't think it's necessary that they need to change their particular training situation. However, when it comes to to mat side coaching at big events, such as Who's Number One Championship. We saw that Heath was there in the coach's chair for Tammy's matches throughout that event as well. I think that goes a long way to have somebody who's very experienced, who's a calm and stable voice in the corner, and somebody who help you can navigate through the stress and the trials of the actual competitive environment itself, rather than just the day-to-day. Right, Corey?
Yeah, absolutely. Heath is one of the most experienced as far as mat side coaching goes. So I'm sure having him in Tammy's, or for that matter, Mikey's corner, can only add to their already prominent success.
So I checked it out, and just the Pedigo Submission Fighting Network, it's not like Gracie Barra with 1,000 academies all over the world. It's not like Alliance that have got hundreds and hundreds of gyms, you know. It's incredibly modest in comparison. They have their HQ, let's call it, the laundromat, the Daisy Fresh laundromat, the infamous laundromat there in Mount Vernon, Illinois, raccoons in the rafters and all, you know, holes in the roof. There's Clay Mayfield based in Nashville. And then you've also got Chad Hawkins in Effingham, which is also in Illinois. And you've got Derek Featherston in Los Angeles, and then a few other kind of affiliated sort of, you know, let's say members of the team, but not actual like official training locations.
Got it.
Very, very modest team to be drawing in such big stars.
Well, maybe it's a sign that things are changing, right? And I know it makes things very interesting, right? Because we've seen Pedigo submission fighting starting to place even before this recent arrivals here.
Yes, we have.
In the team rankings at major IWJJF events. Talk about Nogi Worlds, Nogi Pans, clawing away at major associations that have triple or quadruple the entries that these guys have. So. Yeah.
And let's not forget as well that the majority of those team points were scored via colored belt competitors, because they don't have a lot of black belts.
Exactly.
These three joining now. I mean, Andrew was pretty much the only main competitive black belt. Clay Mayfield just got his black belt like a fortnight ago, right? And now who you got? You've got
very technical.
Yeah, I mean, literally like 2 weeks. Yeah, and then you've got, you know, Dante, Tammy, and Mikey joining the crew. But up until now, it's been guys like Jacob Couch, like at the Nogi Worlds we saw recently. There was Michael Pixley. And there was remind me his name, Tad, the blue belt. Oh my God, was it Hawkins? What was that guy's name?
I don't know Tad's last name. I'm sorry, but Corey, what were the most recent placements there that these guys had? Do you happen to remember at the top of your head?
Yeah, so Nogi Worlds, they ended up taking fourth on the podium.
Sorry, Tad Cravens. I had to get it out. I'm sorry, it was bugging me.
Nogi Worlds, they ended up fourth. Nogi Pans, they took the whole thing. They won first. And even at Pans, talking about their color belts doing so well, they took the novice title.
That's huge, right? That shows that there are many more coming through the ranks, kind of waiting to get those promotions and to start taking out taking on the bigger challenges, right?
Yeah, it definitely demonstrates that there's a future to the team. It's not just going to be a flash in the pan, right? There's more coming from them.
I mean, who impressed us at Nogi Worlds? Thinking, of course, Jorge, or George, as they call him. He took silver in his weight division in medium heavy, and a bronze in the absolute. Correct?
Jacob Couch, champ.
Jacob Couch won super heavy, and again took bronze
Silver.
in the absolute. And then
you mentioned Pixley.
Pixley took gold, double gold at blue belt. And you had Tad Cravens took lightweight blue belt gold. That's one of the deepest divisions to win. So. Yeah, they're pretty well represented, and I like the fact as well that, you know, you talked about guys coming through. One thing we should mention about the Pedigo submission fighting team, not only have they been attracting talent to their location, because of course the success of the Daisy Fresh documentary series that we produced, it put them on the map, right? And a lot of people, all of a sudden, they're like, "Wow, that training room looks amazing. I want to go there." People have been relocating to go train there because they want to, you know, they want to taste, right? They want to see what the secret to success is. The truth is, it's hard work and a good group and a really good group of people all pushing each other on to succeed. But they've also done a pretty good job of, I want to say acquiring. I don't even want to say recruiting. It's not that strong a word, but just generally attracting and manifesting, shall we say. They've just, through their efforts of hard work and just this real strong, tight-knit kind of brotherhood that they have, that people have seen that, particularly former wrestlers, and they've been attracted to that because they've got the hard work that the wrestlers like. They've got that kind of gritty, head down, go forward style that the wrestlers like. And but a number of the wrestlers have specifically stated that they like the vibe of jiu-jitsu more than what they experience in wrestling because it's much more egalitarian, you know what I mean? It's much more balanced, and it's not like they're in a dictatorship where a lot of wrestling rooms are not very nice places to be, right? But I think Heath runs things differently there, and they feel empowered to just go out there and have fun.
Yeah, it's an interesting take. You know, I don't have any experience coming up in a wrestling room, so I couldn't tell you, but I do know from stories and what I've talked about the Flow Wrestling guys here that wrestling is generally not pleasant.
All about the
to put it mildly, right? You know, it's supposed to be horrible and miserable, and almost everybody is relieved when their career's over. Like, thank God, I've survived. To me, I think also there's the element that Daisy Fresh is still pretty humble, right? You don't. Not just the attitude of the athletes, but I mean, you're in Mount Vernon. It's not like you're trying to go make a life for yourself as a full-time athlete in San Diego or New York City or Miami or something where cost of living's insane. You're like trying to figure out how to get by. There, you know, there's a bunch of dudes sleeping on the mats, getting by with the bare minimum. And it's like, all right, if I wanted to try, I could do that. I don't have to have a lot already. I have the will, and that's enough for most of them.
I'm not sure anybody's sleeping on the mats anymore.
Really?
They have Fighter House now.
I thought they still had some guys in there.
Maybe, possibly. I mean, who knows? Maybe more people arrive. Shout out to Jordan Butler as well in the comments right here, who has one of the best IG names ever, Jordan Von Strangle, and one of the other standout blue belts been representing Pedigo. Man, took gold at Pans, right, Corey? That was a hell of a performance.
Yeah, he took gold. I think 4 submissions, 4 matches. He looked incredible, and exciting to see what he can do moving forward, and definitely now more than ever with potentially some feedback from guys like Dante Leon, Mikey Musumeci, even feedback from Sammy Musumeci. We'll see what this brings from both the Pedigo team and the new affiliates.
Yeah, that's a great point that we hadn't really linked together so clearly, is the experience that Dante and Mikey will bring. And Dante's already been doing some cross training, but now hopefully he'll be more of a regular fixture. Right. That will really benefit these up and comers, right?
Bring
because
up the room.
They're already succeeding, but now you have the experience, the strategy, all that stuff required to be successful on the IBJJF. Yeah, it could be a really good thing for those guys.
Well, I hope so. I really do. Always great to see teams go from strength to strength, and we mentioned about the team trophies as well, about how Pedigo took the novice title at was it Pans?
That was
correct? Pans, and then they took the team trophy at Pan No Gi this year as well. So that's huge. That shows real progress, and it's exciting to see.
Get a video from Dante about this whole thing?
We do have some words from Dante. Let's hear what Dante has to say.
What's up, everyone? So as you might have heard already, I will be joining PSF officially. My team and high-level competitors here in Toledo, Ohio will be representing PSF. I'm really thankful to be around the high-level guys at Pedigo, as well as Heath himself. As a lot of people know, Heath and I have been friends for 7 or 8 years now, and since 2019 he's been a big influence in my jiu-jitsu career, in my life. He's been a great coach, and regardless of what team I represented in the past years, Heath's always been very fair to me and never held anything back. So this has been a long time coming. I'm really happy about it. I'm happy about the people I'm surrounded with, and happy about what I can offer to the team and what they can offer me. I've built many great friendships with the Pedigo boys and with Heath, and I'm excited for what the future holds.
Really exciting stuff. And we have a quote from Heath himself as well on our website, on the article this morning. You can go check that out. But he's saying, he's been working closely with Dante and Mikey for some time, and having representation in Ohio and Las Vegas. And the caliber of these three grows our reach and will definitely push our army towards having more success. There's nothing better than kicking ass with your friends. I'm stoked to make moves and see what we can add to these guys' games as well as them to ours. Love it.
Great vibe.
It really is. Big news indeed. Well, we'll see Mikey in action this weekend, because who's number one? Who's number one goes down, not even this weekend.
I was going to say, how dare you?
48 hours from now, Wednesday, October 20th, who's number one returns. And we will be crowning 3 new champions. Can you believe it? We've got 3 title belts on the line.
Yeah, it's going to be a really, really fun show going down, of course, this Wednesday, October 20th. Mikey making his PSF debut in a way. And you know,
I guess,
it's
official debut.
It's almost a bit of a comeback match for Mikey in some sense. You know, we have to see how he's going to react to taking a loss like that, because it's been a very long time since Mikey, you know, suffered any kind of defeat like that.
Yeah.
And so to bounce back takes a lot of will. And I want to talk to him, you know, hopefully when he's here tomorrow, about the adjustments he made, the lessons he took, because it's going to be exciting stuff. But of course, there's a lot of great matches on the card, and I really want to get into some of the women's titles as well. So we could talk about, I think, Bia Mesquita here versus Luisa Montero in a very exciting match.
135-pound title belt. So we actually have, as I mentioned, 3 titles on the line, and we've got a nice little video as well to play for this Beatriz versus Luisa match. This is an interesting one, right, Chase? You got Mesquita, an ADCC champion, a no-gi world champion, one of the most winningest female grapplers of all time, going up against Luisa Montero. They've got history.
They do. They've even traded wins in the World Championship Finals. And, you know, in 2017, Luisa Montero took home gold at the IBJJF World Championships in the gi. Bia Mesquita beat her the next year in 2018. So they definitely know each other well. And this is, of course, their first time meeting at WNO. This is Bia's debut. And while she's won just about every other title in the sport possible, this is still, hers to be claimed. So it could be said for Luisa Montero, another extremely decorated athlete, won everything, worlds, no-gi worlds, Brazilian national champ 4 different times. Has put a new emphasis on no-gi over the last 2 years, over 2020 and now 2021. So I think Luisa is extremely well prepared. She's been grinding it out, competing a lot, where Bia's been in Brazil and not nearly as active as she typically has been. So very interesting dynamic coming into this match, and I think a lot on the line.
I agree. The one thing I would say to that, though, is that while Luisa has been here in the States and definitely has been competing more frequently, and of course, based there in Atos in San Diego, access to high-level training partners, let's not forget as well that Beatriz Mesquita, she recently relocated to the United States. I'm talking within like the last month. Mm-hmm. She has decamped from Brazil. She's moved full-time now to the United States. Got her green card. She's going to be based here now from pretty much here on out. But she was based in Sao Paulo, training with the Dream Art team there. And we've always found that very interesting because, of course, she's never officially switched teams. She still represents Gracie Humaitá, the organization that she's literally been in since she was a child, but she has gone white to black belt with Gracie Humaitá, and Beatriz still maintains that relationship and is now with Gracie Humaitá, Leticia Ribeiro in San Diego. However, man, you know how good that training room is the Dream Art team have in Sao Paulo. And I'm absolutely sure that she's been training like a mad woman for this match and for all these challenges. Because, of course, she made her combat jiu-jitsu debut not too long ago as well in Mexico on the Medusa event. And, she lost in her first round, but it was in overtime. She had a great performance. She almost broke the girl's arm, but then, was unable to kind of get the win in the regulation and lost on the escape time. Not too damaging a blow to her career, right?
Yeah, but it may have been a wake-up call, right? I mean, speaking
coming
of
back
people
to
not
no-gi.
used to losing, Bia Mesquita is definitely not used to that.
No.
One of the winningest ever. So I think that would be highly motivating for her. I think I even saw something like that on her Instagram talking about how, okay, let's go. I'm more excited than ever for WNO. And I think it will show, but there are a lot of questions, and that's why this match is so interesting, is because they're both such high-level athletes with very few mistakes throughout their career, but this is a bit of an unknown for both of them. So
yeah, it really is.
I think it's going to be really, really fun, and I expect a very dynamic 15-minute match.
I'm interested to see how they both adapt their games for the 15-minute Who's Number One rules as well. Corey, do you have any thoughts about what we can expect from the athletes when it comes to this rule set?
So one thing I've been considering is that Bia Mesquita knows how to push the pace, right? That's what she's very good at. She's scrappy. We've seen her push. But Luisa may be more experienced in this particular 15-minute Who's Number One rule set. Not just that she's had a match, but also that many of her training partners have competed on Who's Number One time and time again, talking about Ty Rutolo, Kate Rutolo, Kynan Duarte, many others. So she's not just experienced in competing in this rule format, in this time format, but training for this time format. So that may give her the edge. That being said, of course, Bia Mesquita she has the style that makes her very capable of competing and lasting in this format as well.
Yeah, I'm genuinely excited to see because of course Louisa she made her Who's Number One debut. Wow. What was it?
About a year ago.
October.
It was October last year, so it was almost exactly a year since she competed. But that was the last time that she competed on Who's Number One. And while the rules remain the same, we've clarified a lot about the criteria when it comes to what we're looking for. We're a lot more aggressive with things like stalling calls. Not that I expect there to be any stalling in this match, because to be honest, if you saw Louisa versus Natalie last time, it was non-stop action. It was a cat fight. It was great, and that's exactly what we're hoping for when we invite athletes like this, is they're going to go for the full 15 minutes or until somebody taps. But, it's changed subtly. It's changed a little since then. That was really when we started the whole new shift in Who's Number One, right? It was our first event under those rules. But of course, Beatrice, I just think that she's so experienced in competing, regardless of whatever the rule set is. I think that she can just walk in and almost discount the fact that there might have to be a different time limit, a different strategy. She just goes to do jiu-jitsu, right?
I think that's right. I mean, just looking at her accolades would prove that, right? All the different organizations, gi, no gi. You even have an EBI title back in there before she did combat jiu-jitsu. And looking at MMA, I feel like she's someone that stays ready, right? And her jiu-jitsu is good enough to carry her through whatever is thrown at her way. So, but the same could be said for Louisa, which is, again, why they're fighting for the title, why there's a lot on the line here, and why I think everyone has really high expectations.
Let's talk about the next title. Let's talk about the 125-pound title belt between Fionn Davis and Natalie Ribeiro. So Fionn representing East Coast Jiu-Jitsu, based out of Dublin, Ireland. For the last kind of week or so, been training here at B-Team in Austin, Texas. We got the chance to catch up with her. We'll hear from her in just a minute. But Natalie Ribeiro of Checkmate returns to Who's Number One. I'm excited for this one. I'm genuinely excited for this one because pretty much like everybody has been asking us for as long as I can remember. They've been dying for us to get Fionn onto Who's Number One. Invite Fionn. Get Fionn on the show. Yeah, we've been trying, right? We finally made it happen, because we had to circumvent all the travel restrictions and stuff. It took a while for her to make it back into the United States. Well, now she's here. Play this video while we're talking about this, because Fionn is tailor-made for a competition like Who's Number One, right?
She is, but we're looking at Tata Ribeiro here as we open up the video, and
No, play the video. We'll talk about that.
They're both featured. Don't worry. So here we have Tata, and she's come on so strong in the last 2 years. A really aggressive fighter. We saw her jump straight into mount there earlier. Can do it gi and no gi. Has a very modern game. Training with Lucas Leitch and everyone over at Checkmate. But here's Fionn. And Fionn is a finisher. Gi, no gi. She's won a Brazilian national title. One of the very few non-Brazilians to ever do that. As well as a couple European titles. And this moment is what solidified
her transcendent moments.
Exactly, where she submitted the woman we just saw, Bia Mosquito, with this devastating armbar at ADCC 2019. Just a moment that I think is a storybook moment for her, a dream come true. You see this in her reaction. I think that was everybody's reaction in the room, was what just happened. Bia Mosquito entered that competition as such a favorite and had already beaten Fionn by armbar 2 years earlier.
True.
And also in the gi, some other events. So,
and let's not forget that Fionn just won No-Gi World Championships a week ago. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Fionn's coming in on a hot streak. She's been in Austin, and I think this is a highly motivated athlete that's been watching the WNO championships sort of transform and really change where the sport is going. And we know she's wanted to be on. We wanted to have her here, and so it's a great challenge. But standing in front of her, Tata is no joke. She's a veteran of the sport, as well as world champ and a WNO veteran. So it's a serious challenge for Fionn.
But we invite athletes to Who's Number One based on not just their credentials. We invite them on a number of things, but one of the biggest ones is, are they going to fight? Are they going to come out here? Are they going to put on a show? Are they going to scrap? Are they going to go out and they're going to try to finish? And we can definitely say that, well, we've seen that from Natalie Ribeiro because, we've had her on before and we know what to expect. And we truly believe that Fionn is that kind of grappler as well, right? That she has that kind of go forward game, always searching for the submission. Sometimes it doesn't work in her favor because, as we saw, she actually got caught at No-Gi Worlds last week by Gabby McComb in the absolute division, but then she bounced back to win by submission in her weight class and win that. So it's It's not like Fion's, this monster, unbeatable monster or whatever. She's coming in, and as you say, she's got a very tough opponent in front of her.
It's definitely a killer be kill attitude. I mean, she actually went out right at ADCC 2019 via, was that a toe hold or ankle lock from Bia Basilio?
I want to say it was straight ankle.
It was straight ankle.
Maybe, I don't know. I don't remember. But it was footlock, yeah.
It was something nasty. And so, Fion usually goes out on her sword, one or the other, submits spectacularly or sometimes goes down. And so that's why, she was always a prime candidate to be on WNO. Corey, what do you think the fans have waiting for them in this matchup here?
Both of these competitors have this style that it's built for who's number one. Natalie Ribeiro has won just about every title I can think of in the last 2 years, and she always does so in an exciting fashion. I mean, we talk about that flying mount that we played earlier on in the clip, but she has the exciting technique we're looking for, and you can say the same about Fion. It's not just that they know how to win. And so they know how to win in an exciting manner. And if they lose because they're taking a risk. And that's exactly what we want. There's everything you want in a jiu-jitsu match is in this matchup.
There's one other thing to consider as well, of course, that Louisa and Natalie, they're one half of these two title fights, right? And they have history. Well, Beatrice and Fion have history, as we've mentioned. Do you think we'll ever see those two go at it? Maybe...
Fion.
Yeah. Beatrice and Fion. Maybe they meet at 135. Let's say that Beatrice wins the title. Will Fion attempt to go for a second strap, or will she try and get redemption against? I see it happening. I think that there's a match. I think there's a match there in the future. I'd like to see Beatrice versus Fion under Who's Number One rules.
I think everybody would like to see that match. So who knows what the future holds, but. I think the fans would demand it, and I'm not going to say no to that. So
hell no. Let's talk about Mikey versus Alarcon, shall we? So this is another interesting one. 135-pound title belt. Mikey Musumeci returns back to his natural weight class, right? So he went up through the weights. He took on Gio at 145 pounds, road to ADCC. He tried against some very tough grapplers at the Who's Number One Championships in the 155-pound division. And as we saw, did not go to plan. Went out first round to Gabriel Souza. Well, Mikey's now back at his natural weight class, 135, where he has been nothing short of utterly dominant in this weight class. Really, untouchable, right? And yet, he's back here, and he's going up against a guy who, make no mistake, this guy is the ultimate disruptor. Right? Richard Alarcon is so tough, so underrated, and yet so dangerous.
It's true. Richard is a really fun grappler to watch. Has a very long history with wrestling. Wrestled all the way through school into college, wrestled at the D1 level, and brings that heavy pace and aggressive attitude to jiu-jitsu. He's very scrappy, has done well, won the Kasai Pro Challenger event, and went pretty far at ADCC trials at one point. And I think he does provide some serious threat to Mikey's game here because of his aggression. I think
as we saw with Gabriel Souza.
Exactly, you can make that link there. I don't think it's too much of a stretch. But Corey, what does Alarcon bring to this matchup here, Mikey?
Yeah, Alarcon has phenomenal wrestling as we're seeing here. I don't think that will play too much into this match, but with that wrestling comes a passing style that looks very similar to the way that Gabriel Souza ended up passing Mikey Musumeci's guard. So make no mistake about it, he has the skill and the specific technique that we've seen can beat Mikey. That being said, I think Mikey's going to be adjusting that one particular element of his game more than ever. So we'll get to see in real time how those adjustments are playing out and how they're working. But Alarcon's going to be a real threat here, I think.
Oh, you're absolutely crazy if you think that Mikey hasn't learned a huge lesson from that Who's Number One Championship experience, because I can count on the amount of times that Mikey's had his guard passed on one hand that I can remember. Seriously, it happens about as often as a freaking solar eclipse. It's just something you really, really see, right? And I'm sure that Mikey's learned so much each time and has made necessary adjustments. Now, he hasn't had very long to make those adjustments. Mm-hmm. It's been a couple of weeks, basically, since that last match.
Well, given the amount of time Mikey spends on the mats, anywhere from 8 to 12 hours a day.
That's like 3 months for a regular person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What blew me away about Mikey one time was after he beat Bruno Malfacini, a few weeks after that, I did an episode of Chasing Greatness, my somewhat abandoned interview series.
Oh, I'd like to see that come back.
And maybe we'll bring it back. But he said the first thing he did was watch that match and saw a bunch of mistakes that he made despite winning that match, and said he was going to make the adjustments and incorporate them in his game. He didn't like that he was swept by Bruno, for example, and some stuff like that. And I was
Mikey sees jiu-jitsu differently, right?
well, he's just a man possessed. Like, all he wants to do with his entire being is be the best that he can. So I am certain he was probably watching that video that same night, heartbroken, but at the same time applying some lessons. That's my goal tomorrow. We do our pre-event interview series and have the press conference, and I really want to see what Mikey has to say about that loss and what he's changed about his game.
And I think stylistically that we are we're looking at two very, very similar athletes, right? Alarcon shares a lot of the attributes that Gabriel Souza has. That aggression, the pace, the dynamic outside passing, very scrambly, and I feel that these are very similar traits. But I think that Mikey, going up against somebody who's cutting down to 155 pounds versus somebody who's also a 135-pound grappler is, I know.
There is a difference. I mean,
there's a big difference. We'll see if that physicality, if when that's removed, whether it's still as much of a factor as it was in the match with Souza. Well, let's see. But Alarcon ranked number 6 in this division. Maybe some people wondering why Mikey is getting a title shot against the number 6 ranked. Well, consider some of the other guys that in that division, and that he's either beating them or they're just not that active. It's kind of the paradox of the curse of the lightweight divisions. You've got to get who's available and who's down to take on somebody like Mikey as well. So, but I think this is a big challenge. I'm looking forward to seeing it and see where we go from here. I think Mikey's going to be king at 135. If he can get this title, it's going to be difficult to take him out because there's, after Alarcon, it's a big drop off. But if Alarcon takes the title, I feel like people are going to be lining up to try and take that belt.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting stuff, either scenario. I think Alarcon will absolutely come with something to prove. He's going to assume people are overlooking him and that he wants to shut those people up. And so I think.
What is it you said? A man with nothing to lose is a dangerous man. You said that in the preview of Philip Rowe versus Gordon, right?
Yeah, I think I did. I think I did say that.
I feel like Alarcon's in the same position. He's got nothing to lose. People are almost expecting him to go down to Mikey, right? Absolutely. I feel like he's like, no matter what, I can just go out there and I can do my best and, win or lose, I could go out my head held high. But we know he's going to come hard to win.
I think so. In any case, I'm super excited about that match, and I don't quite know what to expect, but we'll see.
Yeah. Shall we talk about Gordon's comeback?
Let's do that.
Okay, so Gordon Ryan's comeback, the pound-for-pound king, is returning to jiu-jitsu after a 7-month layoff. That is a considerable period of time away from competition, especially for somebody as active as Gordon Ryan. So Gordon, of course, has won everything there is to win, has looked pretty much untouchable over the last couple of years. By far and away, the best no-gi grappler on the planet right now. Very few chinks in his armor, and yet there is one thing that has been holding him back, and that is his ongoing medical issues. So at first it was diagnosed as gastroparesis, which is an inability for the stomach to digest the food. That was actually, it turns out that he has a very complex series of fungal infections in his body, which sound absolutely horrific. Sound like something out of a goddamn horror movie. He has some kind of parasite living in him. But, he's been going back and forth to high-level doctors in New York and Los Angeles for what seems like an eternity now, trying to figure out exactly what it is that's wrong with him. And this is a return to action of sorts. But it's more a return and it's like dipping the toes into the water rather than a fully fledged return to competition. Would you say?
I think you could not categorize it otherwise. Of course, this is an exhibition match, meaning that there is no winner or loser. But more importantly and more interestingly, we're going to see the round continue for the full 15 minutes, no matter how many people tap, no matter how many submissions we see. It's going to be, I think, a full range of technique. And knowing what Gordon does when it's a real match and calls a shot and wants to show off a certain series, well, I think we can expect to see a few different things from Gordon. I think we'll see him get submitted. And
easy now. Hang on a second. Put that in neon lights.
There we go. I just said it.
Put it on neon lights above the building as we walk in on Wednesday. I want to see attributed to Chase Bill. I see Gordon
only
getting
because
submitted.
He can, and it doesn't count. Only right, and I think Philip Rowe is gonna go for it, and I believe Gordon wants to be in the most precarious and dangerous situations possible. I think that's something that he wants to prove, and who knows what happens in that case.
Who knows indeed. Honestly, though, I think that he's going to have to be a little more careful than people maybe realize, because Philip Rowe is a dangerous man. He's a very dangerous man. He's a UFC fighter. He has a very, very good record. He's very aggressive. And, okay, he maybe not be as accomplished or storied in the grappling scene as Gordon is, but he can go out there and he can do some damage. And as we saw in his very physical match with Cody Steele, he's a very athletic grappler as well. You know, he's not having to cut any weight for this match. It's an open weight match. He will have a weight disadvantage because, of course, Gordon's probably walking around about 230, 235 at the moment. He's looking pretty big. So I think Phil's going to go out and he's like, hey, listen, I'm not being brought here. I've not been brought here to be somebody's grappling dummy. I'm not going to let Gordon Ryan toss me around and do what he wants to me. He said, number one, Philip Rowe is a showman. Number two, he is a natural-born fighter. And number three, he is not going to roll over easy. So if Gordon Ryan wants to showcase some techniques, that he's not finding a cooperative dance partner here. He's going to have to do it against a fully resisting opponent, right, Corey?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no way that Philip Rowe is coming in here expecting to roll over. I'm sure he doesn't want to come out here against even Gordon Ryan and get embarrassed. He's gonna come out fighting. He might give Gordon a run for his money, and especially if Gordon decides to offer Philip Rowe maybe a locked out submission and see what happens, see if he can get out. I think it might be worth placing some money on Chase's bet there. That
there it is.
We may see one tap.
What's the prop bet, Corey? So people at home know.
It's plus 2,500
for any submission at any time.
For Gordon to submit during the 15-minute match.
So just so we can make that clear for people at home, for people who maybe have an interest in putting some money down, in an exhibition match where there is no loser, Gordon Ryan may tap at any time and continue. You could put money down on that scenario and have a pretty nice return. I'm not trying to swing the odds
we
makers
don't
here.
Gambling here at FloGrappling,
No,
however. You know, I gotta say though, here's a factor we haven't talked about. It's the health issues, okay?
Mom, if you're watching, put that bet down.
It's the health issues. Consider this, that Gordon Ryan has taken 7 months off from competition for a very good reason. That is the fact that his athletic performance is not where he feels it needs to be competing against the best grapplers in the world. Philip Rowe is about as athletic and in shape as you can get, and he is flying right now.
Well, he's
a pro MMA fighter.
He fights in the UFC with the recent fight of the night, right?
Exactly.
And,
so performance of the night, yeah.
Performance of the night, yeah, exactly.
So Philip Rowe is going to be coming in 100% shape, whereas Gordon, 50%? 60%? Maybe not even that. You know, it depends on how bad his stomach is, right?
But yeah, we'll see. I mean, there are question marks, and I think there's a lot of curiosities, let's say.
Oh, yeah.
That are very different than your normal match, than a like a title fight. We're going to see what kind of state Gordon's in. We're going to see what he's currently toying with in the workshop. Like, you know, what kind of techniques is he working on? Where is he focusing his time? And
also the results of his treatment plan, his ongoing treatment plan as well, which we have actually had a little bit of insight into, because since Gordon relocated from Puerto Rico to Austin, Texas, we've been able to catch up with him a few times and follow him around. We have a series of vlogs on our website following Gordon from his day-to-day life and teaching at Renzo Gracie Austin, training at the Roca Training Center, and also visiting Ways to Well, which is, who are taking care of his recovery. Let's play this clip of Gordon here and hear from the man himself.
Now, for all the haters who have tried to tell me that my tummy ache isn't really an excuse to not compete, I have actual doctors. I've posted actual test results, but nobody wants to look at those. Or they just say, "Oh, steroids messed you up." No, the antibiotics messed me up. But the good news is I should have it under control sooner than later between the Ways to Well and this doctor in California who's treating me. I got a couple different guys on it, and if and when I get better, you guys are just so fucked. I've managed to maintain some size, so I'm like about to be bigger than I've ever been, and my stomach's not even healthy yet, so Hopefully, like I'm like a 275-pound Gordon when my stomach actually gets better, and I just traumatize everyone for the rest of your lives.
Okay, typical words there from Gordon Ryan, something that we're very accustomed to hearing, saying that you're all fucked, basically, when he comes back. But we have some more strong words in here, because the question, of course, is where does Gordon go from here? What does he do next? And if his recovery is going to plan, and if he is able to legitimately compete against actual world-class opponents following this exhibition match, it absolutely makes sense for a match with Tim Spriggs at some point. Our Who's Number One heavyweight champion. Well, speaking of Tim Spriggs, Mr. Spriggs is in the comments of the YouTube channel right now.
What's Tim got to say?
Tim's got a lot to say. Tim's got a lot to say. How is the pound-for-pound king competing against a non-grappler in an exhibition match? Give that man some saltine crackers and ginger ale for his tummy ache. I love that. Says that he should win an Oscar with all his pretending, and that he doesn't want any smoke with Spriggs. Wow.
I want to see that
think
match.
about that?
I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, of course, the natural progression, too. Gordon being a champion at WNO multiple times over, and Tim winning the most recent championship. You got to do it. You got to run it.
Listen, I'll be honest, that if Gordon wants to keep that number one ranking spot, then he has to compete against fellow grapplers. And the fact is that this year, he's had a couple of grappling matches against opponents who were willing to step up, but there weren't many of them. But these were grapplers who weren't even ranked in his weight class. Well, now we have a heavyweight champion. If you want to retain that number one pound for pound spot, surely you got to take on the biggest, baddest man out there, and that should be the heavyweight title holder, right? That should be Tim Spriggs. And Tim is saying that Gordon's going to do everything he can to avoid the Mushmaster. What do you think about that, Corey?
I love Tim Spriggs calling out his shot as the champion should do. I think he's absolutely living up to the Who's Number One championship title. I would love to see this match, obviously.
We got to ask Gordon. We'll have to ask him this week. Gordon, what do you think about that?
We will see him very soon indeed. We'll see him tomorrow, and we'll be able to ask him his thoughts on a potential match with Mr. Spriggs. I think the fans would love to see that.
Let's get it going.
I would love to. Thanks for jumping in that in the YouTube comments there, Mr. Spriggs. We'd love to see it. Hope you're still rocking that crop top rash guard, by the way. Big fan of that. Can't pull it off myself, but I'd love to. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk a little about some events that have happened recently, because, of course, Who's Number One happens on Wednesday. You'll be able to watch that live on FloGrappling, but there's plenty of other good jiu-jitsu to watch on FloGrappling as well. Last weekend, we had Subversive, which is the Fight to Win Rules team event. So you get teams of 3 going up against each other, and it's some of the most exciting matches you can hope to see, right? And it's a team tournament with 8 teams going in against each other. And Team Checkmat sent their brown belt killers to basically take on the best that Southern California had to offer. And this is what went down. Play this clip right here, please, Tyler, because we have
and the
great
ease
highlights.
in which he is positioning.
Did you see that? That was so slick. With
Very,
the leg work
very
and the
complex
passing.
brown
Oh my
belts.
gosh.
All took gold at the Nogi World Championships.
He's got a little something here. But he's put himself into leg danger. Gets out of it like it's nothing.
He's not
Jansen.
Just coming in
His
and out of
jiu-jitsu.
that guard with ease.
Oh my God.
Smooth. As you can see, his passing, traditional checkmat style. That's very much Leo Vieira 101. But check out this armbar.
Oh, that's nice. Dropping off from north-south. I love it. Yeah. Leo Vieira, I heard him call Jansen Magic Jansen at Nogi Worlds, which is a great nickname. Just
Magic
sort of flows.
Jansen.
A little tribute there to Magic Johnson, maybe, with the purple rash guard, even. Who knows? But, yeah, both him, Jansen and Elder Cruz look really untouchable at this point right now.
Very different styles of grappling, though, right? You've got Jansen is such a smooth kind of. It's very interesting because you never see Jansen hurried or out of position very often. You know, he can hustle definitely, but he's so smooth. Whereas Elder's all grit, right? Elder's got that wrestling background, and you know he's adapted it so well. You know, he's developed a really, really good jiu-jitsu game, but he's so aggressive. Here's Montero catching a flying guillotine directly into the mount and putting on the pressure as well. Man, this is it was so cool to see the three teammates just go at it and take out some interesting names. There's Elder doing what Elder does. Look at that hustle, man. Just all grit.
Is that Is that Seth Daniels for Fight to Win up there?
That's Seth Daniels right there.
Got to give Seth some love for going out and fighting the best in the world while he's running shows. Guy's a maniac. You got to love him.
Yeah, well, Elder
didn't love him.
El Monstro was not nice or kind, though. Actually put the smash on. And we jumping back and forth between these matches here, you can see that they had to fight a number of times throughout the tournament as well. So, there's 3 rounds. There's a quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals for the Checkmat team. So they had to come out and they had to fight multiple times. And Jansen picked up submissions in all of his matches. Actually, excuse me, not all of them. He didn't submit in the final, but he had 2 submissions in the opening rounds. This is a really scrappy match against Nick Burgell of the Fight to Win squad. And check out this finish right here, this key lock. This is like with just about 40 seconds left on the clock. Man, Nick managed to fight out of some really tight spots. And then the final was between Checkmat and Legion American Jiu-Jitsu. El Monstro was able to win a decision over Sloan Climber using his top game. Great, really well-developed guard passing now. I love that side-to-side, long-range guard passing. And then Jansen, man, he had a scrap with Miha Perhavitz of Legion. And as you'd expect, because, man, Miha is a berserker. And I love the way that he fights. And, man, he took it to Jansen. This is the only match that Jansen couldn't finish.
That's awesome, yeah. Miha being a WNO veteran, and like you said, a really, really great stylist, super fun to watch, doesn't really care about points or winning or losing even. Nope. He just wants to put on a show, right? Show off his jiu-jitsu, and looks like he managed to do a great job here. Look at that. That was a really nice little scramble.
Yeah, oh man, this entire match, you don't even need to make a highlight. The entire match is a highlight. It's just non-stop action, back and forth attacks, and this is the beauty, right, of the submission-only format, that you don't need to worry so much about position if you can just go for the kill like this. Right, Corey?
Yeah, absolutely, and we got to see a lot of Miha's takedown skills too, and Jansen's takedown skills and counter, so a lot of action out of that match, the attacks, the passing, the takedowns, and Checkmat in general just really put on a show.
Yeah, really, really fun event. Always love watching those guys do it. And I got an interesting comment here from Luis Canones, our friend Luis, 10th Planet representative in the comments, who I believe will be going to Serbia in just a couple of weeks to compete at the UWW grappling event. More about that in just a second. But Luis is saying here that he would like to see a Who's Number One style team event.
Not a bad idea, Lewis.
I like that idea too. Yeah, you never know. This the best thing about jiu-jitsu, man, is that we can do whatever we want with the rules, really, right? It's so cool. Let's talk about upcoming events here on FloGrappling. I mentioned it earlier about how it's a very busy period and about how there's tons of live events on FloGrappling we can watch. Well, let's start off talking about EUG Promotions and about how they have a very interesting development in their rule set for this 155-pound no-gi Grand Prix that is taking place this weekend. First of all, let's throw up this graphic because we actually have a look at the 8 competitors right here. And you can see that the competitors include Gianni Grippo, Diego Pato Oliveira, Gabriel Souza, Damian Anderson, Kieran Kitchuk, and then bringing up the rear, you got Liam Hill, you've got Alika Villatora, and Danilo Moreira. An interesting mix of established veterans, rookies, up-and-comers. But let's talk about the rule. Let's talk about the rule that they've developed, because the EUG doing their first no-gi event, and it seems that they don't like guard pulling very much.
Yeah, they're going to be penalized in the first 3 minutes of the match. Anyone that pulls guard will be reset on the feet, and then their opponent will get 2 points.
Wow.
That's a pretty stiff penalty.
That's about as harsh as you can get. Yeah. Because in other tournaments, let's say like ADCC, you can pull guard and you can just eat the penalty, but you stay down.
You're in guard at least, yeah.
There you go. The guard puller is like, well, if I'm confident enough that I can sweep or score, then I'm just going to take the penalty and I'm going to go to where I want to be. This does not allow that. You've got to, for 3 minutes, fight for the takedown. However, I'm wondering what the criteria is here, because as we found out not that long ago, right, Chase, when we went to the ADCC rules seminar, that there are always loopholes. There are always ways around this. And the ADCC guard pull rule is one of the I don't know, it's not the easiest to understand, but if you know the rule well, then you can game the system to pull the guard, right?
Well, I mean,
failed shot.
Nothing is foolproof, but yeah, if you commit to a shot and it doesn't work out, you can sit to guard. And don't get me wrong, I don't get into any more details because I don't know them well enough
Oh, well, no,
to
I
feel
can
like
tell
an
you that.
expert. Yeah.
No, because it's a 3-second rule. That's basically what it is. Is at ADCC they have this 3-second rule that if you establish position for 3 seconds, then that is considered.
I was just trying not to give away the secret sauce, but you're just going all in.
Oh no,
giving it all away.
Mo has been totally open about this, Lupo, about how it's no longer a secret. Everybody's talking about this, but you can basically, I can shoot in for let's say for a double, right? And you can sprawl on me, and I'll stay there for 3 seconds in that kind of position, and then I can sit through the guard. That is not considered a takedown for my opponent, but it's also not considered a guard pull for me. And I'm wondering whether EUG will implement a similar rule. Just
I don't
saying.
know the answer to that.
Neither do I. I'm going to try and find. We will find out this weekend when we watch live. What do you think about this lineup, Corey? Because I got to say, this 8-man looks pretty interesting.
Yeah, if we just pull the graphic up again, but I like Gianni Grippo in there. I love Pato in there. A lot of these guys we saw at Emerald City, and we didn't really get to see the matchups we wanted, or maybe a couple guys
Minogi
pulled
Worlds
out.
as well,
right?
winning gold, right? Gianni Grippo won gold with a bunch of submissions. Diego Pato won gold in his division. Gabriel Souza took silver, right? So there's a
one little sleeper in there I want to point out is Kieran Kachuk, who looked great at Nogi World. He looked great at Nogi Pans. He is a finisher. I think we're going to see a lot of great action from him specifically. But Damian Anderson, don't sleep on him either. We're going to see him later on this week, but towards the weekend, we'll see some more from him.
Yeah, I like this match a lot. I got to say that I think that I kind of feel as well. I feel that Gianni Grippo's been increasingly active in events that we may not have otherwise seen him in the past, right? Events like Emerald City, events like EUG. I don't know. I would feel like the Gianni was more selective. Or a little more exclusive as to the tournaments that he would work with, and he would usually prioritize like the big IBJJFs and stuff like that. I feel that he's at a stage in his career now where he's more about taking on challenges, and as we discussed a little last week after Nogi Worlds, about really wanting to establish his position as one of the best guys in his weight class, right?
Yeah, I mean, Gianni is sort of like a sleeper of jiu-jitsu in the United States, right? Like he's been around for a long time, won everything, but still I feel like isn't in the conversation for all-time greats. But I don't know if a few more titles doesn't put him in that conversation, to be honest. If he takes an ADCC gold, for example,
right,
or an IBJJF World Championship. But at the same time, he's staying constantly sharp by doing anything he can at this point. All the best pro shows, Johnny is raising his hand, entering in, and I like that. I like that at this stage in his career that he's not slowing down. In fact, he's speeding up. So, he's definitely one of the favorites in this event, but a lot of stiff competition, and I think it's exciting to see him do some new stuff.
One note I want to make here about Gianni Grippo, too. I found this out kind of looking at him last week after that Nogi Worlds win. He's done a lot more Nogi this year than we've seen him do gi and Nogi back and forth, but he's been very focused on Nogi this year. He's 24-0 this year in Nogi competition.
24-0?
Yep.
Wow. Well, we've got a comment here from Josh Jitsu in the YouTube comments saying that he's dying to see Gianni on Who's Number One. Well, we had a little kind of chat about this not too long ago, right? And we feel that the only match for Gianni on Who's Number One is against AJ Agazarm in a winner-takes-all, shave head, retirement, loser leaves town kind of match. Of course, we're joking, but it would be hilarious because, we love AJ, right?
We do love AJ.
Do we? Yeah, I've been waiting for you guys there.
Yeah, I love AJ.
But no, in all honesty, though, joking aside, man, AJ versus Gianni under Who's Number One rules would be an incredible match. I would love to see that one. I would love to see that lightweight match at some point.
Yeah, I think either guy would be pretty interesting on the format. And Gianni's new submission hunter style, let's call it, fits right in. So, yeah, let's get him on. Yeah,
super aggressive. Really, really looking to make a point as well. I think he was unfairly categorized, maybe not unfairly. He was definitely categorized as one of the Berimbolo generation that was responsible for all the leg fighting, the pelt tricks, and so on, guard versus guard. Well, he's one of the best in the world at that, but he's also one of the best in the world at avoiding the leg lock game, going to your back and choking you out, as he showed at Nogi Worlds more than once. So I would love to see him in a submission-only format, such as Who's Number One. Well, what else we have coming up? We also have the UWW Grappling World Championships. October 28th through 31st in Serbia. Let's play this little highlight video here because this is a past example of the UWW Grappling Worlds. And it's a gi and no gi event with a very interesting rule set. 6-minute matches, very similar points to as you may have seen before, but run much more like a freestyle wrestling tournament because it's organized by the same international governing body as that does Olympic freestyle wrestling. And man, it is actually a lot of fun to watch. And it is really dynamic. It's fast-paced. The referees got the whistle. They're on the call. They are not taking any stalling. It's quick-paced matches. Pretty much all submissions are allowed except heel hooks. And it's, like I said, it is a ton of fun to watch. So this is coming up in a couple of weeks. And I believe he's in the comments that, yeah, he should be going there, actually. So not for the first time. He represented USA in Kazakhstan back in 2019.
Yeah, it's a really intriguing event. It's much more of a submission grappling event than jiu-jitsu. You have guys that have
submission wrestling.
Submission wrestling, yeah, exactly. It's a lot, especially the no-gi, where you see basically wrestling and then submissions are just tossed in there at the same time. But guys you would never see before, people based in Russia and Turkey,
That's right.
Don't have an easy time getting to the United States for the bigger events. They're there in spades, and they're very good. So,
and this is cool. Lewis has just jumped in the comments here as well. There's a new rule this year: step-out points.
I love it. I've been calling for that forever.
I like that. Yeah, I know you're a fan of that, actually.
Yeah.
Yes, it will be on Flow, Josh Jitsu. You will be able to watch this. Lewis leaves on Monday to go represent the USA in Serbia. So another thing about this is that you can't just sign up and go. This isn't a World Championships where you can just put your name in and enter. You have to qualify and represent your team. You have to represent your country at the World Championships. So this is why we don't see a lot of competitors and a lot of nationalities represented, because if they don't have a national federation who's sending a team, well, then they don't go. That's why there's no Brazilian team. That's why there's no British team, and so on and so on. But you will see teams from nations that have strong grappling pedigrees and have very good technical grapplers, but maybe you don't see elsewhere. So, for example, Poland always send a really good team. The Ukraine always send a good team. The Russian team pretty much are guaranteed to win gold in almost every weight division. They've certainly done that many times in the past. But you'll also see teams from Italy and from Spain. It's a really interesting international mix. It's a true World Championships. And it's speaking about the Russians. I mean, to be honest, it's going to be tough to beat them because, number one, they're actually really good. They're very good. They've learned jiu-jitsu. They know, especially the submission wrestling style. They have that wrestling background, and they're just so tough. But remember at ADCC trials, one guy who caught attention was the runner-up in the 66 kilogram division was Gayabeg.
Sure.
Gayabeg Ibragimov, I believe it is. Obviously from Dagestan in Russia. And Gayabeg, he caught our attention because he had this great match with Ashley Williams in the 66 kilogram final. And people were like, wow, who's Gayabeg? Even Mo Jassim, ADCC World's promoter, was like, man, I got to check this guy out. He's so good. I'm going to see what I can find out about him. Well, try putting his name into the search function on FloGrappling, because we only have 20 matches of this guy going back to about 2017. So that's how you find out about these guys. You'll see him in action going back to the previous UWW World Championships in 2019, in the gi even, in Abu Dhabi Grand Slam, Abu Dhabi World Pro. So, you never know what you might find if you go into the search archives of FloGrappling.
Enter at your own peril, though, for sure.
It's not that bad. What do you think, Corey? What do you think about this rule set?
Yeah, I love the rule set. I think for the same reason that Lewis loves the rule set, and that is it's so close. It really feels like a wrestling event, right? Stalling is highly penalized. That's the reason the step out rule is in, because it's some mesh between grappling as we know it and wrestling, and those wrestling rules tend to really reduce and heavily penalize stalling. Great to watch.
Yeah, another thing as well is that this competition allows reaping in the gi.
Nice.
Yeah, not heel hooks or not twisting leg locks. You can do straight knee bar and straight ankle lock, but you're allowed to reap in the gi. And nobody's knees explode.
Weird.
Yeah, isn't it? I love that, though. There you go. Lewis saying Gayabeg is the guy that beat me in the semifinals in 2018. So, well, maybe you'll get that one back, Lewis. Good luck. But we'll be watching. I'll definitely be watching UWW October 28th through 31st here on FloGrappling. Next up, should we talk about the BJJ Stars USA versus Brazil?
Let's do it. And yeah, I was kind of surprised when they announced that was going to be the theme of the event.
Right.
But it makes it a little more spicy, I'd say, a little more intrigue.
Play this video, please, as we're talking about this.
Yeah, so some standout names are coming to the event. We've got Gilbert Burns, Celcinho Vinicius, Luis Marquez, and from the American side / Ecuador in this case, Roberto Jimenez, AJ Agazarm, and Josh Hinger going down there. There's AJ blowing up the screen. And, of course, this comes off the back of AJ's appearances in the ultra heavyweight division. So you can see he's trying new things, exploring a little bit. But I like the theme of the event, and I like those 3 matches a lot. They're fun.
There are a ton of matches on this show, but those are, of course, the marquee matches, shall we say? Gilbert Burns versus Roberto Jimenez, Celso Vinicius versus AJ Agazarm, and Luis Marquez versus Josh Hinger. But Leo Vieira will return. He's got a match on this event as well. Tanquinho versus Bruno Frazzato. You also have oh man, is that? It is, right? You got Mayra Alves or Mayra Makina versus Jose Thiago. That's a true battle of the generations right there. Kleber Luciano is taking on Leo Vieira in a real masters match. You also have Gutenberg Pereira is in action. Tynan Dalbra versus Lucas Gualberto.
That's an exciting matchup for me. A lot on the line there.
Man, there's a ton of really good matches on this event. It's a lot of fun. I'll definitely be watching that one. And, Chase, I believe that this goes down the same weekend as ADCC Trials. So while we're in glamorous, beautiful Atlantic City, you'll be here in Austin, Texas, doing the remote commentary with a certain knowledgeable member of the jiu-jitsu community.
That's right. That's right. The legendary Shanji Ribeiro will be joining me at the desk. Very excited to have him on. He commentated with you on the last BJJ Stars, I want to say, and had a lot of fun watching that. I love the production of BJJ Stars. Really, really beautiful show to watch. Great jiu-jitsu. And again, the lineup, the card is fantastic with a lot of different elements going on. Excited to see Leo Vieira back in action. The first time since ADCC 2017.
Oh, wow. Is that right?
I want to say that's right. And before that, it would been quite some time, too. So, legendary figure in our sport like Leo going on the card is fantastic. So
yeah, it is.
Great
That's
mix,
amazing.
and I'll be there. But yeah, of course, as you mentioned, ADCC Trials, and a big Trials is going on the same day.
Yes, ADCC Trials is this is the most important thing that to mention. The big news is, because it seems that some people are still a little unclear about this. Number one, it has moved location. It is no longer in Bayville, New Jersey. It has moved to Atlantic City. That's a solid hour and a half south. It is also now a 2-day event, originally scheduled for November 6th. The tournament will now take place over 2 days, November 6th and 7th, because of the sheer number of competitors. Tom DeBlas, the ADCC East Coast Trials promoter, told us just last week at Nogi Worlds they had 200 people sign up on the last day of registration.
I love it. The talent is going to be so high. And I mean, we're talking seven matches for some of these champions,
possibly 8. I think there
Which
is
is
some. There is some.
absurd.
Yeah, it is obscene. Yeah, there's some divisions which have over 200 people registered,
That's
and right
awesome.
now we're not able to share the details of exactly who it is that's registered. But we will be releasing some names, some key names from some of these divisions, so that as we move along, because Mr. DeBlas has asked us to keep things under wraps for now, but all that information will be coming out soon. And don't forget as well, the ADCC Trials. Not only can you watch all the action both days here on FloGrappling, but we'll also have Flow Arena, so we'll be able to you'll be able to follow along real time with the brackets. You'll be able to check results. You'll even be able to set up notifications for when certain athletes compete, and you'll be able to follow along all the action. Corey and myself, we're actually going to be there with a couple of the other members of the team. Are you excited to go back to Atlantic City, Corey?
Yeah, last time we were in Atlantic City, a great event run by Sam McHale in Emerald City. But I'm excited for ADCC Trials. ADCC season is back in action. Some of the best Nogi competition that we will see probably all year, and it comes in with a bunch of divisions that are going to be as much marathons as competitions. Right? You're talking about 7 to 8 rounds of 5-6 minute matches. I mean, we could see a real test of endurance along with everything else.
Yeah, especially over 2 days. Man, that is incredible, isn't it? That is a long weekend of jiu-jitsu, but I'm excited to see. ADCC Trials is going to be absolutely stacked, and whoever emerges from that trials the winner, a very deserving place at the 2022 ADCC World Championships.
Oh yeah, we're gonna see some monsters be born that weekend. I mean, Oof, going through 7 matches, so that's going to be as tough as ADCC, basically.
Pretty tough. Yeah, who knows, man?
More
Yeah.
matches, but the talent will be all over the place. But anyway.
I hope they get a high seed after winning that, though.
I hope so, yeah.
And then the last event that we want to highlight before we get out of here today is a new event on FloGrappling taking place in the UK in mid-November. Raw Grappling, RAW Grappling, takes place on November 14th, and that will go down in London. And if you know anything about London, it'll take place at the O2 Arena, which is one of the biggest arenas in London. And the Raw Grappling features an 8-man heavyweight tournament, but it also has a very cool super fight taking place between Adam Wardzinski versus Rafael Lovato Jr. We'll talk about that in just a second. Play this video first because Raw Grappling shared this with us. It's a feature video about Adam.
I never worry too much about the audience, you know. Whenever I'm stepping on the mat, I'm in the zone, and I don't even hear the audience. I can't see the audience. The only focus is my opponent and the fight. My game for many years was oriented into getting into dominant position and dominant from there. It's always a plan. And I'm always looking to that. And I think Lovato is kind of the same. His pressure is legendary, and everything depends, of course, on the dynamic of the fight. I like to feel the fight in the beginning. I'm not kind of like a wild guy jumping into the fight. I like to start slow. So Rafael is kind of the same with that, and I think we're both gonna look for like dominant positions, control well, and then look for submissions from those positions. Like thinking about it before the fight, I'm super excited, and it's a really nice venue, and it's gonna be great to put on a show in such a place. But on the other hand, I know that as soon as I'm gonna step on the mat, in my head is gonna be only that fight, and the whole surrounding doesn't play a role.
So a new event coming to FloGrappling, and man, I gotta say, I'm kind of excited by that match. We've never seen this before, right? Wardzinski versus Lovato Jr. Again, a little bit of a clash of generations. Now, I'm inspired by the fact that both men had very good performances at the recent Nogi World Championships. Lovato only had one match. It was the opening round match against Felipe Andrew, which he lost 4-0. But a much more competitive match than the score might sort of try and signal, right?
Lovato did look really good, and I like this matchup because they both have classic styles. You know, Lovato, of course, came up from a different generation, but Wardzinski's game is much more of a throwback to that same era. So I think it's pretty interesting how they're going to match up. I don't think Adam will have a lot of new tricks that Lovato hasn't seen before, but it'll just be really fun to watch them suss each other out and go through that. But Corey, break it down for me. What are you looking forward to in this matchup here?
I think, like you alluded to, Chase, it's Rafael Lovato is such a classic game, and he's modified it to make it work for him and work for him against talents with people with different skill sets and different talents. But Adam Wardzinski's butterfly guard is just something that always impresses me because it's such a fundamental style, and he's able to execute it against anybody and everybody. So watching kind of that battle of the classic Lovato passing versus Wardzinski's butterfly guard is really, I'm amazed every time I watch either of their games work as effectively as they do because they're so fundamental.
Yeah, great point, man. Great take. Personally, I'm just excited as well because Adam had a great run in the Nogi Worlds. He took silver in his weight division and took bronze. He took bronze in weight bronze in weight division, bronze in absolute. Correct? Yeah. So double bronze. From a guy who has said more than once that Nogi isn't really his thing. So it's kind of cool that Adam is able to perform so highly on the world stage. And I think that this is a great opportunity because, Lovato is a very different style. Man, I'm not sure how that butterfly guard is going to work against somebody as long as Lovato, as somebody is able to post out, as somebody is able to balance in a certain way. And of course, Lovato's pressure passing style, tailor-made for somebody like Adam's butterfly guard. So it's very interesting a very interesting clash of styles, clash of generations, and just an intriguing match I'm very excited to see. Not the only thing to look forward to on Raw Grappling as well. We'll be announcing the full lineup as we get a little bit closer to the event, but they're also going to be having an 8-man submission-only no-gi Grand Prix, including some big names. So we'll be releasing more about that, but we can say for now, Lucas Hulk Barboza, Yuri Samois, and others are all in for that one. So
gotta love
be fun.
it. Strong debut from a new event.
Yeah,
good stuff.
Man, honestly, it's non-stop from here for the rest of the year. We've got all kinds of events. We've got Gi and No Gi. We've got Masters Worlds in the middle of November. We've got IBJJF Worlds coming up. Emerald City return on December 4th. Man, it is just loaded from here on out. You can watch everything here on FloGrappling. I think that's about it for this week. Long show today, but thanks very much for joining us, for watching. Thanks very much for joining in on the YouTube comments. As always, we will see you next time.